Hi, my name's Sian and I'm a Neurodevelopmental Specialist at Autism Oxford, and in honour of National Breastfeeding Week I thought I'd make a video about my breastfeeding experience. So I breastfed both of my children, one for 4 years and one for 2.5, and I still breastfeed my youngest now occasionally when she needs some regulation. I don't really know when I decided that I wanted to breastfeed. But before I do go into this video too much, I want to make a point of saying that breastfeeding isn't right for everybody. I'm going to be talking about my sensory needs and the difficulties that I faced breastfeeding. You do feel a lot of pressure as a mum to breastfeed your child, but any way that you feed your child, as long as it's right for you, this is the most important thing, because there is nothing worse than trying to be a mum whilst you're really dysregulated. If breastfeeding is something that you find dysregulating, then you feed your child in whatever way works for you. So for me, breastfeeding was extremely dysregulating. I have heightened sensory experiences to things such as sound, noise, touch, light especially, and I've never been a hugger. I don't mind a deep hug, but any kind of light touch, stroking, anything like that feels stingy for me, very uncomfortable. Both of my children would stroke my arms whilst I was feeding them, and just the feeling of breastfeeding in general, even when I got support and found the right position, it was painful. And not because they weren't latched properly, because they were. I had this checked numerous times. It was the sensation of it. I felt like I wanted to grit my teeth. Sometimes I felt like I wanted to throw them off of me, and I felt horrible, like the worst person ever for having these thoughts and feelings. But that's perfectly valid, and it's perfectly okay to have those feelings. Obviously we don't want to act on those feelings, but if you do have heightened sensory experiences, then this might be something that comes up for you. For me, the guilt got the better of me and I carried on feeding because it was very regulating for both of my children, who are both autistic and struggle with self-regulation. So I felt too guilty to stop, I think, even though for me it was incredibly dysregulating and wasn't something that I enjoyed. I think what played into this was being diagnosed with postnatal depression after I gave birth to my eldest, and not having that intense immediate rush of love and wanting to hold your baby that is touted to you on social media and in films. Yeah, and breastfeeding just kind of, I felt like I was doing something my midwife suggested, when actually I felt like a pretty rubbish mum, even though I wasn't at the time. And this, I think, is probably why I started. Even though it's a ridiculous notion, because bottle feeding does not make you a bad mum at all. You're feeding your child, you're meeting their needs, but you're also looking after yourself. And if we don't look after ourselves, we can't look after other people. But this is my breastfeeding journey. I appreciate that everybody's is different. But I thought, in honour of National Breastfeeding Week, I would tell you, as a person with sensory needs, about what it was like for me.